Hello, hello. Well, hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Jim and Rob Overanalyze Movies, the live video podcast. Live! The live video podcast for people who are looking for a deeper conversation about the movies we watch today. And I'm hoping we've got another great one for you. Another Oscar-nominated flick. Let's get into it. That's right, everyone. We're going to be talking about Sentimental Value. It is a week away to Oscars, the 2026 version. And as we are broadcasting this live tonight on the 8th of March, let's get into it. Let's get the machine moving. It is late at night, so I think it's time to bring on my co-host with the most, the man, the myth, the legend, my borscht bro, Mr. Jim Chaboyko. How you doing, my friend?
Good. Come on.
Jim, well, actually, let me first beg the dozens of our subscribers to like, subscribe, and maybe ringy-ding that bell.
My neighbors are sleeping. I'll try to keep it low.
Well, listen, sounds better than the metal on plastic that we had the other night, right?
Yes.
No, that's right, folks. I'll put a link up here. We did recently take a look at Good Luck, Have Fun, Don't Die. Great film. Go see it. And if you want, including spoilers, we got a little mini spoiler zone. Go check it out. Again, link up here. All right, Jim.
Mm-hmm.
Before we get into the film, what have you been watching lately?
Well, I've been trying to catch up with a lot of the Oscar nominated movies. You're sort of almost prisoner, like it's just, I want to watch something else, but I've been trying to stick to the list. So I did watch Elio because I hadn't watched an animated movie this entire calendar year. And I watched a couple of the long documentaries, but also, and primarily I wanted to say that a lot of the live action shorts and live or the short documentaries are, and the shorter animated movies too, they're available. All you have to do is search. Some of them are on YouTube in Canada here. Some of them are on Crave, which is our the distributor of anything HBO related or Max related or whatever they're calling it this week. So yeah, there's a lot that's available. All you have to do is speak into your little remote control, and you'd be amazed with what you can come up with. But there's some really good ones out there, and they're fun and they're quick. And if you're bored of everything else you're watching, it makes a nice alternative.
Very cool.
Mhm.
We were talking about it in the digital green room before the show, and one of the ones I've seen, and you and I were laughing about, was uh, oh right, period drama.
Jane Austen's period drama.
Jane Austen's period drama.
Yeah.
Of course, I'm really I found that quite enjoyable. Also, because I have been reading Jane Austen's Pride and Prejudice, and I finished the book today. So,
Yes.
folks, expect sometime soon this Marxist's take on Jane Austen.
Ugh.
But yeah, of course, there's going to be a new Pride and Prejudice miniseries coming out,
Mm.
and I'm really looking forward to kind of doing a preview as sort of my hot take or my analysis, my analysis of a couple of the previous adaptations, and with my closer reading of the text of the actual book. So yeah, stay tuned for that. Perfect reason to subscribe right now.
Yeah.
All right, Jim, let's talk about what we're going to be talking about tonight, and that is Sentimental Value, which I got to tell you, my friend, has one of the worst log lines.
Oh no.
Oh my goodness, this is terrible. Comically so.
Okay.
Okay, what do we got here? This is from IMDb. An intimate portrait of family, memories, and the reconciliatory power of art. Um,
Jesus.
it is awful. That's like Oprah Book Club book blurb awful.
Mhm.
What
Hey,
I
hey, intern, have you seen this movie yet? No, write something about it.
exactly. Ask ChatGPT.
Yes, yeah, yeah.
Um, I would say, you know, correct me if I'm wrong, but my take on this is it is about a father and a daughter, one an old filmmaker trying to put together his last film, and his oldest daughter, a theater actor, and of course there's intergenerational family trauma, but they're trying to reconnect, or at least he's trying to reconnect, but through cinema.
Mhm.
There is a big name foreign actor that gets involved, played by Elle Fanning, a wonderful supporting role.
Yeah.
There's a kid's sister who also is dealing with this trauma, but she's also trying to, you know, take care of a family and hold this little broken family together. It is all kind of starts at the funeral of the mother,
Mhm.
divorced from the old filmmaker played by Stellan Skarsgård, Gustav Borg. It's Borg, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
So yeah, good take of what the film
Yeah, absolutely,
is.
yeah, yeah.
I'd say that's a better log line than that poor intern got
Oof.
forced into doing.
Woof.
Um, with that said, why don't you give us your spoiler-free review before we get
Sure.
into the spoiler zone?
Yeah, what is and I queued it up because I knew I wouldn't remember it, but that Tolstoy line from Anna Karenina,
Oh,
all happy, probably so many people have used this in this review, but all happy families are alike. Each unhappy family is unhappy in its own way. And it sort of struck me. I thought, oh, what's that quote again? When they have a great start where they go through the whole home, the family home. And I think this movie is all about home, both the curses and the blessings of home, and its absence and its presence. But yeah, it's just about an attempt at reconciliation that is kind of clumsily handled, and through art, and there are complications, as there usually are, but yeah,
Are things
it's
not as they seem, Jim?
not, things are not as they seem. Is there callow youth involved? Well, maybe, I don't know, but yeah. So it's just this family trying to stitch, the remainder three quarters of itself together, and the big tension is whether or not they will. So it's and they're all unhappy in their own way.
Yeah. Um, no, I think that's a great take, Mr. Cheboyko. For me, um, we have seen this is, I think, our sixth or seventh review of a Oscar nominee.
Hmm.
This one being nominated for, I believe, Best International Picture, one of the Best International Picture nominees. Yes. Um, Certainly, it premiered at Cannes in competition, one of the longest ovations. Um, I would say, unlike a couple of the other films that I've seen that are on these nominee lists, I'm at least able, as I'm watching it, going, "Oh, I get why it was." A little bit of bad in there, but mostly good. It's like, "Oh yeah,
Hmm.
no, this makes sense. This is a praiseworthy film." Um, I did though. I got to admit, my question, one of the things I kind of, as I was looking at sort of what my expectations were, a part of me was, after watching the trailer, I'm like, is this going to be affluent people being cruel and kind to each other? And I'm like, at the end of it, I'm like, yeah, that's what it was. Um, I do think it was a very good film. Yeah, at the end of it, it is about redemption. It's got a big redemption arc, a
Hmm.
big atonement kind of arc. How did you put it? Trying to restitch a family together.
Hmm.
Um,
And sort of incomplete family, with
yeah,
the mother having
yeah.
passed.
Uh, that said, I gotta admit, I at the end of it, I'm sort of left going, so why are we here? What,
Hmm.
and maybe we can dig into that a little more in the spoiler zone. But yeah, I am wondering, will I remember this in a year? Will I remember it in 5? Does it have anything, how did I put it? I'm wondering, is this really saying much of anything? Even though there's a historical component, there is intergenerational trauma, and like big trauma.
Hmm.
The Norwegian experience during German occupation, with literally, we get the word quisling
Hmm.
from the Norwegian experience.
Yep. Yep.
Um, I'm like sort of left going, yeah, does this actually say anything about our time? What
Mm.
what is it really saying? What is the why of this film? Um, and then of course I'm like, so what's the sentimental value here? Is it the early on, not a spoiler yet, early on, it's not Renata. No, it is Renata. No, Nora.
Nora, yes.
Renata is her first name,
Nana's
the
the actress.
actress,
Yeah.
yeah. Um, Nora literally steals her sister's, well, it has sentimental value, the
Yeah.
vase,
Yep.
as they're
Yep.
picking through her mother's crap. I'm like, so is that the sentimental value here?
Hmm.
Um, and I think that in a way is still sort of left. I'm left wanting at the end of the film, but,
Mm,
I guess that's, for the spoiler zone. Um,
yes.
Speaking of which, you good with that?
Yeah, I'm good with that. Yeah.
All right. Let
We
me,
can talk about what happens to the vase.
let's get into it. The spoiler zone. So, Jim, uh,
Mm,
yeah, you know what? Why don't we start there? Sentimental value.
yeah.
Why that title? Why do you think, like,
That's
is
one of the
there any
questions. Yeah.
sentimental value here? For initially, I was like, boy, it's really kind of wearing its themes on its sleeve, but I don't think I didn't feel that way by the end. What do you think?
Yeah. Well, it's Agnes, the sister, that I think says, "Well, you might want to pick through these things. They
Yeah.
might have sentimental value." Whoa, you're not supposed to say that. It's in the title, but um, it has a different title in
Especially to the
Norwegian, of
most
course.
selfish sister ever.
Yeah. Yeah, so yeah, I mean, and that's a question I had, and I was actually going to bring it up today as well because I'm thinking it's the stuff you don't discard. You know, what is the word I've forgiven but I haven't forgotten. And maybe it's something along those lines, and not particularly confident in my conclusion there. It is a puzzling. I mean, and
Yeah.
that's a good thing. It's a puzzling title.
Is it
Um,
the house?
yeah, could
It
be,
is the
could
thing
be.
they do get rid of at the end,
Yes, yeah.
to make the film, because that is the only way, Jim, the only way that one can deal with intergenerational trauma and trying to reconnect with family. Not through therapy, which is mentioned regularly,
Mhm.
but no, let's make a movie.
Well, the interesting thing is that if you read any sort of art criticism or architectural criticism, a lot, there's this sudden sort of desire to paint everything gray. All these new buildings are turning gray, big,
Yeah,
turning something from, there's a bunch of buildings outside the University of Winnipeg used to be orange, now they're gray. And so there's this whole culture of color criticism. Of course, they take this beautiful black and red house, bold colors, dark colors, like perhaps the mood of the family. It's very light inside, it's dark on the outside. Of course, when they show it being remodeled, it's stripped of all the
yeah,
character bits, and it just looks like anything. The
yeah,
dining room looks like a boardroom, and it's gray. It's white
yeah.
and gray and off gray and eggshell, and it's been sapped of all of its
Turned into an
color.
office. Like you say, the boardroom,
Yeah,
I mean, it may be a house, but yeah, it brought the work aesthetic into the home.
same shape.
Yeah,
Like the house is shaped. They didn't tear anything down. They just sort of you know ripped it up on the
yeah,
inside. So
yeah. The
that was, I think, a
belly
little
of it.
little bit of a
Yeah,
metaphor there.
yeah. Well, especially because the film starts with that metaphor, that idea of a house knowing itself, being a
Mm,
that whole exercise when she was a young Nora,
mhm,
imagining the house, the object as a person.
mhm, mhm.
And even that is, well, the house got a little lighter, but here lighter is not better.
Yeah,
It's light and heavy,
yeah, yeah.
and so that's kind of a language they set up early in the film.
And then with the people that have died, and the people, the woman, the grandmother who had committed
Yeah, I
suicide,
was
and
gonna
the
say
births.
died or
Yeah, and the births in the
yeah,
house, and I mean, it's like a hospital. I
yeah,
think it's St. Boniface Hospital. I've known people that have been in my family that have been born and who have died in that same
yeah.
building, and
Well,
you know,
and pre our modern era, let's say,
yeah,
are part of modernity.
yes,
You know,
yeah,
100, 150 years ago, tops, people could be born birth their own children and die in this in at home.
Yeah. Oh,
You
yeah.
know,
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
mortician would come to your home,
Yeah.
prepare the body for a viewing in the parlor.
I live
And
in an old house. But I do have to say that that was a great way to start the movie. I
yeah,
just thought it was, and it's the kind of thing that takes a lot of effort because they showed it in different seasons, and you would have to like set up shots for like a 2-second cut or something. But it was such a neat way to start the movie. And of course, they say, and I think this was important too, is that halfway, at some points we discovered there was a fault in the house and there's a crack in the foundation that travels
yeah.
all the way up, and that's how metaphorical is that, right? And it goes
What?
through the walls, and there's this little crack that sort of travels up
Yeah,
2 or 3 floors, and
through
and
through her room, through
yeah, yeah,
Nora's room,
yeah.
right by
And
where she sleeps.
brings back to that Tolstoy quote, is
Yeah,
that you can say all houses are faulty in their own way,
yeah,
and I thought that was very key and super well. Like, it just draws you right in. Like,
yeah.
I thought that was an excellent, almost experimental, but it hooked you right away with the older woman narrating as well.
Do you let's put a pin on the older woman because I do have a question about that. But
Yeah.
do you think, like, one of the complications of the story, of course, he's not just an old man film director who wants to make his last film,
Mhm.
um, not one of the most passive aggressive old man directors, that we've seen grace the screen in some time.
Mhm.
Uh, he is he's written it for his daughter. He has
Mhm.
written it, maybe not even consciously, but he's written it as a way to explain himself to his oldest daughter and to try and make amends, to try to reconnect, because he's seeing his mortality. Or
Mhm.
maybe he's kind of denying it, but he is seeing it. That even gets complicated, thinking of the
Yeah.
scene with his cinematographer. But he is
He's where he's like, "Geez, you got old," you know, as he shuffles along,
yeah, yeah,
around behind him.
yeah. But he is where was I going with that now? Damn it. I'm an old man drifting off. Um,
Just about immortality, or him realizing his age, or
no,
the
the
effort to make the script for his daughter.
no, yeah, he's trying to do this for his daughter. Um, but he also wants to make one more movie.
Mhm.
His daughter rejects it. That's right. Okay. His daughter rejects it. No, I will not. Can't work with you. In part because in this meeting, in this conversation, um, the most passive aggressive father director meets with the totally closed off, selfish actress, you know, because at minute 20, I want to note, Jim, I know yet another sidebar here, 1,000 sidebars, but I will get to my point. At minute 20, his sister or her sister has already said, poor Agnes has already said, we should have hired a caterer. This is stressful. Well, yeah, but not for Nora because she's doing sweet fuck all.
Yeah, that's a good point.
And then at minute 20, they're having a little moment. And so Agnes gets up, takes some more dishes into the kitchen because shit's got to get cleaned up. And Nora gets up and follows her. She takes her wine glass. There's still shit on that table. And it's like great little moments like that.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
that is not my point. So they do that. That's all first, second acts, early second act stuff. What complicates it? Because she can play the passive aggressive game. How would I know about your retrospective in France? God, they're such assholes. Ms. Kemp, Rachel Kemp, played by Elle Fanning, the big American superstar, she gets a little weepy at this film which does have a surprise, one of his old films,
Mhm.
gotta be at least, you know, probably one of his first breakout films. She gets weepy. She becomes the star. She takes on the Nora role, or as I refer to her after, as, this is lesser Nora. It's really about three daughters.
Mhm.
What did you think? How do you think that complicated things? Did it work for you? Holy shit, I took forever to ask a question, didn't I? Now
That
you
that
go,
the
Jim.
the inclusion of the Rachel character, you
Yeah,
mean? How yeah. Yeah, I think it sort of brought up issues of, issues. I don't think it turned the dial for the Nora character at all. Like it's like, wait a minute, I do want that role. I don't think that really happened. I thought it might, but in the case here, it more made. I thought it was interesting because it made Rachel nervous. She dyed her hair the same color as Nora's hair, and wanting to keep, I guess, the family resemblance. Perhaps Nora resembled the grandmother that she was playing, in that family kind of way. So, yeah, I thought it was kind of interesting. I don't think it was handled as typically as it could have been. I was there jealousy on Nora's part? I don't think in the way that I was expecting. I don't think there weren't a lot of shortcuts or typical choices here, which is
yeah.
which is kind of nice.
But did it
Um,
work though? I gotta admit, I'm like, by the time she leaves,
yeah,
are you really kind of going, wow, that was quite the complication and quite the resolution? Or I gotta admit, I'm
yeah,
like, oh well, she was here for a while and then she left.
mhm,
Almost like here's an opportunity for the real director who also co-wrote the script with a guy he is okay, the real director. He has a name, Joaquin
Joaquin
Trier,
Trier. Yeah,
uh, who wrote it with Eskel Vogt. I believe I am pronouncing that correctly. They wrote, what is it, The Worst Person in the World?
mm.
Also starring, what is her name? Oh,
Renata.
yeah, Renata Reinsva.
Mhm.
So little community there. But a
Yeah,
part of me is wondering with this Rachel character is really, oh, we had this side quest with this American movie star
mhm,
where they get to whine about what's going on in cinema and how these people have people around them
mhm.
and everything. I got to admit, there's a couple moments there where they're like, "Oh, that's cool," but did it really have anything to do with the movie? You know?
I think what it did was, you're talking about a third daughter here, the inclusion of a sort of a third
Yeah,
proxy daughter almost. And that's an interesting point because it's for a little while anyway, it's a daughter adjacent character that sees him with fresh eyes, like sees him as he is now,
yeah,
and without the baggage, without the parents, what was it, hollering at each other, rather
yeah. The
than using,
noise
yeah, the
wasn't
noise, rather than
quarreling; it was
an
noise.
active verbal abuse of each other,
Yeah,
or whatever. I mean, I don't speak Norwegian, and they didn't translate the
yeah,
shouting either.
yeah.
So,
Well,
um,
but we do learn, like, right at the midpoint, we learn it's because he was sleeping with his actors,
mhm.
you know, or well, with he was doing what she ends up doing, you know,
Yeah,
in a
yeah,
weird reverse way, getting involved in affairs.
yeah, yeah. And think one thing, thank God that he wasn't still like that, because he's got that sort of smiley, easy, charmy kind of way, and I thought, oh Christ, is he going to put the moves on Rachel? And he didn't. But
No.
I think he's actually sort of at the age where he realizes he's at the age, and so that never happened. But I was always a little bit afraid that it would get
Well,
like that.
and
But
I'm wondering if that's well, I'm assuming that was intentional
yeah,
because
yeah, yeah.
he is how should I put this? He is seducing her, Rachel Kemp, the Elle Fanning's character. He is kind of or maybe not seducing her, charming her.
Well, the whole
You know,
beach thing
the
where he
beach thing was
hijacks the
just,
horse
yeah,
and, not
just
hijacks, but he's sort
just
of like,
very
"Hey."
smooth, takes over like a
Yeah.
director does.
Mhm.
And, you know, it is a bit of a Prince Charming. You could imagine him, yeah, as a younger director at the height of his powers, probably was, yeah, just sleeping with them all, you know?
By the way, that early footage of Stellan Skarsgård, I don't know if that was what that was, if it was actual early
De-aging or,
footage or
yeah,
de-aging, kinda
yeah.
Kurt Russell stuff, but, that was kind of interesting. Yeah, I mean, I think, and another thing too about the whole Rachel character thing, I'm so glad that her flunkies, that her little team got shut out early. Like they were hard to watch, and she was sort of disregarding them anyway. But when uh, our director and Rachel
I think it
Kemper,
was David and,
yeah,
yeah.
but
I'll look it up, but anyway, continue.
she comes in the house and he goes, "There's a coffee shop just that away. We'll
Yeah.
let you know when she's done." And slam.
Yeah.
And
Bye-bye.
I think that's the last we see of them.
Yeah.
So that was
Yeah, it's
kind of a
Sam
nice
and
touch.
Nikki.
Okay, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah,
that's
her,
a nice touch.
and but it was also, I enjoyed that. Yeah, here they are. Uh, Jim, I enjoyed that component, while at the same time, I was like, again, it was like, so is this what we're gonna do? Again, it's like, okay, what are we doing with Rachel? I think maybe that's it. It's like they could have been a lot more efficient,
Mm,
or they could have or they could have really involved her.
mhm.
Um, like I half expected right at the midpoint, I half expected him, not in a not in a lover way, although he did almost like, what is this going to be, a Trump thing earlier on when he says about the waitress
Oh,
with his daughter. She thinks we're together. It's like,
yes, yes, yeah.
oh, dude, gross. Speaking of which, dude, Brett is in the
Oh, hey,
house.
Brett.
Yeah.
Hey, how's it going,
Is
man?
in the chat. Um, but yeah, I'm wondering, could they have it? What if he did bring her to
Sorry?
the family birthday party? Bring
Oh, yeah.
Rachel. And we start to see that weird dynamic, that Nora light, and here is now my third daughter, you know?
Yeah, I'm actually surprised. I mean, you always have. I mean, you have to base your criticism on what the film is rather
Yeah.
than what you think it would be. Um, I
Ooh,
was
good one.
I was fully expecting her to have more contact with Nora and Agnes, and she doesn't really. I mean, she meets them and they have a couple chats and stuff like that, but they're not really involved. She's sort of kept separate from them with this project that they're working on, and yeah, that's sort of, I thought, oh, here come the fireworks, or something, or there's going to be some interesting, collateral damage from this, but it wasn't really an issue. So,
Well,
um,
I want to, yeah, a great quote from Movies with Mark, although he's saying, hey, it's a thing said, but he's like, you critique the film you've got, not the one you wish you wanted.
yeah,
I'm not 100% sure I agree with that, Jim. And long-term watchers of the podcast will know that they will not be shocked when I say that. So I guess then, did the character work for you? Did she really change things up? Or was it one of those things where it's like, did we really need her?
I think she was part of the. I think she was part of the journey. I think she was like, what is this, underselling it? She was like that spare tire, that tiny tire that's in your trunk, that keeps the vehicle, because the
Uh-huh.
project was going to die without without somebody stepping in, because he did write it for Nora.
Yeah.
And when she said no,
And
he
it
sort of,
does when she gets out,
mhm,
rightly so, she's not it's not working for her, you know? And
yeah. And
unlike
she validly explains it too.
yeah,
Like it wasn't just like, I'm not in the mood. She's crushed by it
yeah.
too.
Well, unlike
The Rachel
Nora,
character.
who's literally has to be hit and dragged to, I don't know, do her job,
Mm.
which I found gross on a number of levels, she bails out like a pro. It's like, yeah,
And goes to visit him rather,
yeah,
and he says as much as, not everybody would do that.
yeah.
And
Especially a big the big movies well, and it is Elle Fanning, she has people,
yeah,
you know?
yeah. Yeah, in the end, we're in spoiler territory. So in the end, it's actually, the nice part about the ending is that, yeah, he doesn't have to deal with the Netflix people, that he doesn't, that it might actually be released in theaters, and that he's not necessarily going to be getting as many notes, and it's going
He's
to be in Norwegian and not in English. And he got to hire his cinematographer friend. He sort of, before, when he was sort of saying, yeah, I don't know, buddy. And oh, so that's how it's going to be, is it? Oh,
yeah,
that's how it's going to be. And, there's other candidates, and I have to run them by the people.
yeah, which
Um,
was his bullshit, "I wanna bail out because he was like,
yeah,
"Has to be him, has to be him, has to be him," and then he's like, "Oh my god."
yeah. And he gets his grandson in, he gets his daughter
Yeah,
in, and they're not doing it in the actual house,
yeah.
but a copy of the house on a set.
Well
And that's all. It's all those things that he
yeah.
was sort of fighting for and not expecting to get.
Well, and I suppose maybe I am, you're something you said earlier, Jim, I'm now thinking I'm coming around on this. What they did with her wasn't there weren't usual choices you'd do with that character,
Mhm.
but she still achieves a number of important things, like her as a part of a part of the excuse me for a second, big belch there. Uh, as part of the moving the plot forward or complicating it at the right time, it he you can't sell the house at the beginning, or it's really about selling the house and fighting over the house. You
Yeah.
have to have all this stuff come out so that they can get rid of the flawed house.
Mhm.
This in a way, this metaphor, this cracked house, this cracked family,
Mhm.
um, to make this movie. Um, and her getting in has the movie go in one direction, her getting out allows other things to happen at the right time and not being weird or, more dramatic, more as sometimes we've talked about more what we would expect from an
Histrionic,
American
or
film,
yeah.
um, is a cool touch. And I'm now and even presenting the American movie star as not an insecure maniac.
Mhm. Mhm.
You know, and a weird creep, you know?
Yeah, and she's okay without her team there.
Yeah,
Like when she gets on the horse, they're like, "No, you can't do that."
yeah.
She goes anyway, and
No, well,
she's
it
she's
wasn't, "You
allowed
can't
some.
do that." It's, "I got your phone." Like, they're just
Yeah,
because it is their job, right? Like,
yeah, yeah,
I mean, it is weird and it's uncomfortable, but it's also she pays them.
yeah, yeah,
It's their job. You know,
yeah.
when she even at the dinner party, she says that was just a beautiful film. She's honestly moved. And then they're all, "Oh, yeah, 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 no, no, great film." Because,
Yeah, yeah.
they're not here for the
No,
cinema. They're here for the star. That's
yeah,
why they're but when I say that's why they're there, that really is. That's their whole job. That is their function in the industry. Um,
yeah. I think he played the male Sam. Did you say his name
Yeah,
was? I think
Sam.
he played Chevy Chase in the Saturday Night movie. There,
Oh, really? Corey
yeah,
Michael Smith.
I think
Let's
so. Yeah.
let's find out. Jim, let's find out. Corey Michael
Uh oh.
Smith,
Oh,
known
he's in
for
Rooster.
Mountainhead, Saturday Night,
There you
2024. You are correct. Um,
go.
I do want to, though, since we are talking about that component, we are talking about an old director. Maybe doesn't have the pull, has to sell his own house to make that last movie.
Yeah.
I am thinking about a recent scandal, Jim,
Oh.
and that would be recent, relatively recent. This all happened at the Berlin International Film Festival, the Berlinale. Wim Wenders says we have to stay out of politics. As Berlinale jury fields questions about Israel and Palestine, filmmakers have to do the work of people, not the work of politicians. This is the same hypocrite, the same, dare I say, the same hole who a couple years before says, of course art is political, because it is.
Children's books are political.
You know, um, and this is, I think, though, this movie, we can use this movie and that story to kind of interrogate each other.
Mm.
As you know, Jim, I am a dialectical materialist. Getting all kinds of eye rolls out of Jim tonight. Yep. But let's look at Wim Wenders. And it was Wim Wenders and who else got involved in this disaster? It was Doogie Howser, for crying out loud.
Oh, Neil Patrick Harris.
Neil Patrick Harris and the Tuttle woman who was the executive director and has now just been fired because she was never going to be able to fix that, even though she finked her way all the way through. But you basically have, it's the hypocrite in Wim Wenders, the coward in Neil Patrick Harris going, oh, that's not what I'm here for. I'm just here to talk about the movie I'm on. And the Tuttle woman who her previous gig, as she said, politics shouldn't be in this and try to cover everybody's ASS. Similar to some of the folks working for Rachel Kemp. That's her job. Mm-hmm. Finkety finking. Her previous gig was, I think she was the artistic director, the program director for the London lesbian, GBLT film festival. Yeah. And it's like, there's nothing political going on there.
Nope.
Of course, and I think, though, the way to look at these people, and another way of looking at the film we are talking about, I know we are talking about sentimental value here, folks, but a way we can look at that scandal at the Berlinale and this movie is to look at Gustav Borg, to look at Nora as workers, just as I think we need to look at Wim Wenders, is it Kim Tuttle, Clara Tuttle, Trisha Tuttle, found it. Trisha Tuttle, and Neil Patrick Harris as workers. Although I think the Neil Patrick Harris, he has been making good dough since he was a child actor. So his cowardice is on another level. But they are all, like, Wim Wenders wants to make more movies, or at least be called to do retrospectives in his stuff. We see it in this movie when, hey, Rachel, the film festival person comes and says, Rachel Kemp wants to have dinner with you. And he looks and he's got, no, don't worry, the festival's paying for everything. because the guy hasn't made a movie. He's done documentaries and that, but he is, he's he's digging out old speakers out of the
Yeah.
out of the house of his recently deceased mother of his children.
Yeah.
That, because they didn't do the paperwork, is still technically his house. Trisha Tuttle, like Sam and Nikki or whatever the hell, the she is there to serve the interests of the business interests that are there. It's like, hey, keep this machine moving. And that's same with Neil Patrick Harris. Even though he probably doesn't have to work the rest of his life, he wants to keep working, and he has been well trained by an industry saying, you are there to promote the movie.
Mhm.
And
They know it's side their bread is buttered on.
they've been trained that way.
Mhm.
And even now there are people saying that worker, that Ford worker, told Trump to go F himself. There are lots of people. He should be punished. How dare he? Don't you know that democracy ends at the workplace?
Yeah.
And even outside of it, if we can at all help it? You embarrassed our ability. You threatened our ability to make dough. And I would say, and this is where I think there's an even deeper connection. Frederick Jameson is right. We should always historicize. The Berlin International Film Festival was always political, always ran into this stuff because it was set up. The Americans helped set it up in part to promote American product and American values in post-war Germany, but also as a way to propagandize, support German filmmakers, West German filmmakers. And there was a guy, I can't remember the name of him. I will put a link down below. But Jim, there was a filmmaker in 1970 who got booted out of the festival because it was anti-American. His film was making, it was about Vietnam. And his answer at the time was like, Americans are against the Vietnam War. How can this movie be anti-American?
Yeah.
And it's that kind of thing. So that's like the history of the Berlin International Film Festival. So in a comic irony, there's Wim Wenders, who is really a product of the West German film industry. That's where he started, in that new German wave. No more rubble films. Oh, hey, we're a different apolitical kind of thing.
It's been
And
30 years.
so there he is, doing what they always have been doing at the Berlin International Film Festival, being political, saying they're not political.
Jesus.
And this is, because folks, as I've said before, it's never just a movie. All films promote the values or conflict with the values of the ruling class of its time. And here's a great example, because this film refers to generational trauma. It all comes down to, in the end, the Karen, not Borg, but
The grandmother,
the
yeah.
grandmother who ends up killing herself. She, of course, was part of the resistance, was sentenced for 2 years in an internment, or in a prison camp in wartime occupied
Also.
Norway, the Quisling government, and tortured by it. And so here we are, we're dealing with this, and what this movie seems bizarrely unable to comment on our present time, other than the mini drama of this family dealing with this. Meanwhile, what's going on, you can't put Iran on it, but you can certainly put Palestine, the Ukraine, two conflicts that are generating that same trauma. And this movie, it says a lot by saying absolutely nothing and totally focusing on this little thing. And I was like, that is where I'm like, kind of, what are we even here for? Why did Trier make this movie? Unlike, say, Buddy's The Zone of Interest, where you're like, "Oh, that's obviously about our time now. Yes, it's set in the past, but it's about now." Here,
Mm,
it's like bizarrely antiseptic. It refers to that past, but has no comment on our present,
mhm.
you know? But
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's I mean, that's an interesting point, and I was thinking, like, while I did enjoy this well, a couple of things about the movie. I did enjoy this. I think it's intelligently written. I think the transitions were kinda crazy because they just hop from thing to thing, right? Um, but, when all was said and done, the performances were great. Like, the cast was great, and there were certain elements of the story that I really enjoyed how it was told, like, starting off with the house, that whole sort of thing at the start, the first 5 minutes
yeah,
was a really great intro. At the end, though, I while I was happy to see the resolution, I there wasn't any kind of wave of emotion that came over me. You're rooting for everyone, but I was thinking in terms of the Oscars, if I was a voter, how would I vote? And I there's a sort of a maybe a lack of how did I put it, urgency, or there's a lack of timeliness. Like, this could have been set in the 70s, it could have been set today, it could have been, anytime in between. Whereas something like One Battle After the Other, Sinners, even though they parts of them took place in the past, I think they have a connection to today, right? And not so much this one. It's almost like a compartmentalized kind of thing,
yeah.
and yeah, I just there was sort of a for lack of a better term, there wasn't that sort of immediate urgency of today that I felt regarding it.
I you know what? I think you and I are both pointing at different aspects of the same thing.
Mhm.
Um, Let me ask you this. I think we're coming to our conclusion here,
Sure, yeah.
and I'm gonna give you mine in a second, but why do you think Trier made this movie? What do you think
Mm,
this movie's point is? I mean, we certainly know what its emotional what the emotional log line is,
yeah.
will this man reconnect with his family? Will this family's fault be at least patched up? Will
Yeah.
they get those foundation repair people in?
Yeah.
Um, but other than that, it's like, yeah, what is the when we saw Good Luck, Have Fun, Don't Die, as much as that's it's a lot zanier, it certainly isn't going to be talking about at Oscar time. I got the impression coming out of the movie, even when I disagreed with some of it, that Verbinski had something to say.
Mhm.
Whereas here, I'm like, why are, what do you think Trier has to say here? What do you think is his point in this film? Other than torture
Yeah.
is bad, 'cause what the fuck, of course.
Yeah. Yeah. I
Jesus
think
Christ,
it's
DMG's in the chat. Anyway, sorry.
oh, hey, how's it going? How's it going, DMG? Yeah, I mean, you could talk about the redemptive power of art. You could, which in the log
In
line,
the
a lot
crappy
of
long line, yes.
people talk about that, and a lot of the bump, the literature, the write ups, not the reviews, but the previews. There's
Yeah.
quotes like, kindness is the new punk, and that
Ugh.
sort of thing. And you know, I mean, I would suggest that it's a movie about reconciliation, um, looking for peace, or trying to create it where it hadn't existed before. Um, but yeah, it's on a very sort of a micro level, as well. Another sort of like a messy family drama, and sometimes those can be outstanding movies. I still, and maybe just because I had identified with the young character, but I still remember I love Ordinary People, and that's kind of another family melodrama, where people are dropping the ball on their own family responsibilities and that sort of thing. Very well done. The great cast. It's just all at the top of their game. Mary Tyler Moore playing against type. I mean, your question is this memorable? I sort of always think about that now. Will I remember this in several years down the line? Whereas I remember the hell out of Ordinary People. I think I took psychology because Judd Hirsch was so cool in a Semitic good looks kind of way. But
Oh, very
quote The
Lisa
Simpsons.
Simpson of you,
Yeah,
yes.
but with the cardigan and is this one memorable? I don't know that I will be kind of thinking about it the other thing is, if this is on the late show, do you keep it on? Like, if you're half an hour in, you're flipping the channels and you go, "Oh, look, Sentimental Value." Will you keep it on or will you go to bed? That's another sort of a barometer, I think, and I'm not sure I will. I mean, I
Yeah.
enjoyed it, but what's he trying to say? I think it's just a fairly, maybe a simple tale about
Yeah,
reconciliation.
you know what, though? That's not it's like, then why are we here?
Mhm.
I think I mean, I was in it for me, Jim, I was in this flick, I was seized of it the first halfway, and then after that, it's like, okay, by the end of it, I'm like, I I'm rooting for everybody, but
Mhm.
more and more, I'm like, why am I what is this really saying? What is this saying in either A, something new, or B, related to me, that I can relate to in a way, or saying something about, you know, artists dealing with trauma other than we need to spend a ton of money and so to 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 deal with it as opposed to, I don't know, go to therapy. Why weren't you instead of divorcing your wife, maybe you could get her to recommend somebody. I'm like not sure why we're here. I'm not sure why this movie was made really. What is it actually
What
saying
what's the
about
hook?
this? What's no, no, not what's the hook? What is
Mm,
the either the new thing he's saying about it or the new way he's saying, and I'm like, I don't think there's enough there for me in definitely not in 5 years. I'm not sure I'm gonna remember this in a year. And
mhm,
like I said, I do think you kind of looked at it from one angle, talking about that. What about the now? How does it speak to our time now? I think, yeah, it could have been said any time or no place or nowhere, even though it's actually aware of history, it doesn't connect it to now. And I
mhm.
think that's its fundamental flaw, to talk about history, to talk about Norwegian history and that trauma and not, try and make it relevant to us now other than this one individual story of family misery. I'm like kind of going again, why? But why? Yeah,
Mhm.
I will not. I do want to say though that that sounds like really like I'm really being a bummer on it. I am not. Um, It is it's still I watched to the end, it's still a very good movie, it does make some interesting choices. We've said it before, see more movies with subtitles.
Yeah.
You see actors you don't see otherwise, and they do things that you're not used to, so it kinda helps suspend disbelief, and, Stellan Skarsgård, this may be his last movie.
Yeah.
He is not just getting old, he knows he's gotten
He's
old.
he's ailing, yeah.
He's ailing.
Yeah.
He Elle Fanning is always a delight.
Mhm.
Ever since I saw her first in 8 millimeter,
Oh yeah, yeah.
when when I thought
Or
J.J.
Super 8,
Abrams was
Super
a
8,
great filmmaker.
Super 8.
Super 8, thank you. Oh,
I
yeah,
think 8
yikes.
millimeter is
Ooh,
the snuff film.
yeah, ugh. The um, always a delight to see her on screen, always, great to see what she does,
Mhm.
but yeah, that's all it is. I could see it doing well at the Oscars, if only because it's like, well, I'm too racist to vote for that, and, oh, that's just mediocre. So
Yeah.
it becomes like the King's Speech
Well, 4 acting
or
awards and
Nomadland, a film
yeah,
that no one talks about anymore.
no, no. Um, 4 acting awards for all 4 of the main roles,
Yep.
and I have to say that, Inga Ibsdottir Lilius as, Agnes, holy crap, what a revelation. She was phenomenal, and I would love to see her in more stuff. She was fantastic, the sister of Nora.
Also,
Um,
the a true surprise, the one who the character who was the little girl in the movie that
yeah,
hooked Rachel Kemp on Gustav.
yes,
It's
yeah,
like, "What, her? Oh my
yeah,
god." That just
yeah,
complicates it even more.
yeah, yeah,
You can almost see why he wrote why Agnes doesn't get that choked about him writing a movie for Nora,
mhm.
because
She's had her turn.
she had her turn in his great film,
Yeah.
you know?
Could I get a selfie? Says Rachel Kemp. It's like, "What?
Well,
Us?"
okay. And
Yeah.
then "You mean the one we bought from IKEA?" That was just a great moment.
Yeah,
Just
that was good too,
awesome
yeah, yeah.
moment.
Well,
Just
there's great
yeah.
moments through this. There's a couple things I did wanna mention,
Well,
in
here,
the when the
hold
sure,
that, because I do wanna hear those.
or final thoughts, yeah.
But I think we're at that point.
Mm,
Great to see DMG in the, chat, by the way. But Jim, let me ask you. Sentimental Value,
mhm.
see it or skip it?
I'd see it. I'd see it. So, it's free on Prime, doesn't cost you anything if you're supporting Jeffy. Uh, yeah, I'd say see it.
I am with you, Jim. It is a see it. It is
Mm,
it's not just a good movie. I think it is a very good movie. Is it, again, something I'll remember in 5 years? No. A year? Tough to say. But I can't say my time was wasted either. And you and
mm,
I have praised moments in this film, you know, at the beginning, in the middle, and after. Uh, and I will give it one more thing, Jim, before we
sure.
get to your comments. I got to admit, I do love it when performers are willing to look bad. You know, Renata Reinsva, she is just, has a willing to dig in and be an asshole. Uh,
Mhm,
Skarsgård is being a dick.
mhm.
Even Agnes, a little passive aggressive, little, non-confrontational, like unwilling to go, whoa,
Yeah,
even though she is being run over, or the only person being taken for granted by everyone in the family, you know, well, except maybe her husband. He seems
yeah.
pretty supportive of her.
They,
Um,
the Norwegians make, Canadians look like Yosemite Sam practically, it's
yeah, yeah, so there is praiseworthiness in this film.
mhm, mhm.
So Jim, to you, yes, what else did you want to note?
Okay, a couple points. One of them Canadian. I'll save that one for the end. But there's one little touch that I like when um, our director is presenting his daughter with his script at the restaurant, and he reaches over and he takes it out. I think it's in an envelope, but it's in a shopping bag. And I just thought that was how many teenagers have done that. I've done that before, where I have my stories or whatever, I have them in a shopping bag and you sort of take them out. It's not a briefcase. I mean, this guy's a director, right? It's not in a binder. It's just loose pages in a shopping bag. I thought it was kind of a sweet kind of moment. The
Well,
other thing I wanted to mention was there's a really they try another experimental thing about two-thirds of the way through the movie where they have their faces superimposed on each other, and it's this sort of like 30-second thing where it's the father and the two daughters. I don't know if you remember that or not. It's just like it's sort of like this zoetrope thing, and
yeah,
it's black background, but it's just their faces that
yeah,
are sort of like swirling around. And I thought, this is so on the nose. SCTV, Canadian SCTV,
which is now out on Prime.
which is now out on Prime. Hello, Jeff. 40 years ago was making fun of Scandinavian movies. Whispers of the Wolf, which Count Floyd mistakenly thought was a Wolfman movie. It turned out to be a Swedish movie about two estranged sisters, does exactly the same thing, melds faces together. And I just thought, oh my God, this is Whispers of the Wolf coded 100%. And it's all
And
I would love
this,
for
yeah,
I
go
would
ahead.
love yeah, just at one point the two sisters is Andrea Martin and Catherine
Catherine
the Great.
O'Hara.
Catherine the Great, and their faces merge together. And then another one where Andrea Martin's taking cutout faces and putting them on her own face and putting lipstick on it, and then answering the door like that. Like it's what room do I have? There's up to they check into a hotel.
Yeah,
What room do we have? Terratine, 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 Terratine. And the whole
yeah.
thing. It's I think every Scandinavian filmmaker should watch Whispers of the Wolf so they know what to avoid.
Let's see if I can't find that on YouTube and connect it to what we're doing here.
Oh,
Um,
it's the best. It's the best. And then you cut back to Count Floyd. He goes, "Oh, wasn't that scary? The way the two sisters were so estranged." Whoa.
I do want to read a comment. First of all, so glad Brett Wood's classic. Brett
Oh,
Wood
nice,
is
nice.
a Canadian,
Oh, good. Okay.
perhaps
Knows
even
it.
a Canadian of these parts, Jim. Um,
Yeah.
DMG says, "How can we have a film about a family in show business with Stellan Skarsgård as the patriarch, but no Alexander or Bill?"
Yeah.
Uh,
I guess you could have had Peter Sarsgaard, but that's
yeah,
sort of
I will. You know what? I will not. I'm just not as excited about this film. Although I am saying it to see it, I'm not as excited as I was. It does not get the same. Yeah, you got to check this out. As Good Luck, Have Fun, Don't Die. But I would say one of the great choices here was not doing like many choices that happened in this film. One of the great choices here was not trying to do, hey, it's his last great, what I think an American studio would do. It's his
okay.
last great film. We'll get his kids together and we'll have this blockbuster epic of acting, great blockbuster acting thing. Kirk and Keith and what's the kid's name? Douglas's
Uh,
Randy,
uh,
whatever the hell.
yeah,
You
yeah.
know, doing one of those things. Nope, no stunt casting here. Using these two women, just perfect, just note perfect in that sense. Although it is another chance for me to say, go see Good Luck, Have Fun, Don't Die. Ostensibly about a man from the future coming to save the world, but really about a son trying to save his mom. So there you go. So glad to see you. Oscars live stream. That's what DMG's wondering about next weekend. Stay tuned. That's another, what a perfect setup for us to ask you to please subscribe, like, do all the things, and maybe ringy ding that bell. Listen, Brett, DMG, so glad, DMG, so glad to see you hanging out on the stream. Brett, thank you very much for coming out, hanging out. Yeah, check this flick out. It'd be interesting to see any comments later on how you think it will do. Will it win the Best International Picture Oscar? I think, you know what? I'm not going to speculate, but maybe next weekend I will. All right. On that note, yeah, I don't know. Anything else you want to say there, Jim?
No, I think we're good.
All right.
Has anybody died lately that's big? No, I don't know.
Well, great way to end the show there, Jim.
Yes.